give me one shot here on a blue chip stock, believe me, Kevin, the only problem you're gonna have is that you didn't buy more.
Nobody knows if the stock is going to go up, down, sideways, or in circles.
What's going on, NBA draft fans? Your boys are back. The Wolves of Ball Street. Your favorite draft analyst. My name is Corey Tulliba, and I am here alongside my co-host, Albert Garbage Time Gim, to officially kick off the 2026 NBA draft scouting cycle. Albert, my man, how we doing?
That last sentence is kind of crazy, Corey. What are we in? August right now? Yeah. It feels crazy. I think for me, if I'm honest, I think I took a little break, and in the last week or so, I've been trying to catch up a little bit. Feel like I needed a mental break, and then also like my family's been doing a lot of traveling and stuff like that. So, feels really good to be back. I think we've picked the perfect guy to talk about for our welcome back episode. So I'm pumped. I'm really excited. And also, like, we just haven't talked basketball in a while. So yeah, that's just exciting.
It's been a minute. But we're back, baby. Like we never left. Here we are. And today we are going to break down the game of Darryn Peterson, headed to Kansas, 6'5", 195 shooting guard. Played at Prolific Prep this year. And this is potentially the number one pick in this class, in a loaded class, headlined by Darren, AJ DeBonsa, and Cam Boozer. So those are some big time names. And, you know, when you're talking potential number one pick over those other two guys, you really have somebody who, you know, it could be potentially very special, because those two guys are kind of like no-brainer number ones in a lot of different draft classes. Shout out everybody hanging out in the chat. Malik Jabber, Dirty Dancer, D. Steven. The whole gang is here to hang out with us as we break this guy down. So let's start it off. All right. Now, you know, these are high school stats, so, you know, there's going to be a little bit of noise and the sample's a little bit low. Like, Synergy has 13 games at Prolific Prep. You know, I'm not going to go through his, you know, 3SSB and, you know, Adidas Euro can't, like, I'm not going to go through all the stats, but for the Prolific Prep in their last year in Napa, as they now head to Florida, Darryn Peterson averaged 29.1 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 5.3 assists to 3.1 turnovers, good for an assist to turnover ratio of 1.7, 1.8 steals, 1.1 blocks. Two-way player right there, on 46.9, 36.2, 82 shooting splits. It's a true shooting percentage of 60.3. He did that on 7.2 three-point attempts per game, as well as 9.4 free throw attempts per game per Synergy, again, in 13 games. So heading into this season, formerly of ESPN, but ESPN has him at number one. This was Gavoni and Wu. Bleacher Report has him at 1. Tankathon has him at 1. No Ceilings had him at 1 on our way too early board. And SB Nation has him at 2. So that's an average stock price of 1.2. Pretty good. Do you think that's fair?
100%. I mean, yeah, I won't give you much of a fight on that one. We're about to get into his talents and why he is ranked as highly as he is. And I'm at a point, Corey, before we kind of get into the nitty gritty, I'm almost starting to wonder if he's like a bulletproof prospect in terms of this class, is kind of where I'm getting to, because we've done this before, Corey, where we've seen a guy in the offseason and we're like, he's going to be our number one guy, ends up not having the season that we thought he was going to have. I won't name names, but it's happened to us before. When I look at Darryn Peterson, I'm getting to as Tyler Rucker would say, like a dangerous place where I'm starting to wonder, like, okay, is he just going to be bulletproof, where there's almost not even a world where he's going to fail type of situation? So all that to say, that score feels very accurate and right and fair to me.
Yeah, I agree. Bulletproof is an interesting way to put it, and I think an apt way to put it. Now, that's not to say he doesn't have
Right.
areas of improvement, because I think that you're onto something. Like, he really doesn't have weaknesses.
Yeah.
You know, but he definitely has things he can improve upon,
Right.
as he should. He's a high school player, right? We saw Cooper Flagg had things that he needs to continue to improve on. Victor Wembanyama, during his prospect year, had things that he needed to improve upon. LeBron James, if you go and watch his high school film, you know, because there's some of that available on YouTube, he had things that he needed to improve on. All of these guys in the top three have things that they need to improve on. Dirty Dancer in the chat says, if AJ's intangibles were a little better, it'd be more of a conversation. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, facts. Like, straight up. So let's kick this thing off. And where should we start? Where should we start with him?
Okay, so for me personally, I feel like the headliner is scoring. So
Yes.
offense, right?
Offense. Well, we gotta start with the offense, and
Right.
there's a ton of layers. I think I want to start, like, if we're going offense, and I think this kind of works both ways. When I went and saw him at the McDonald's All-American game, and I wish that he played at the Nike Hoop Summit. You know, I think some Team USA stuff there that he, you know, I think wasn't a part of. So, you know, he wasn't invited to that. But when I saw him in person at the McDonald's All-American game, I was blown away by how he moves. It's like he's ice skating. I don't know. There's this smoothness that I don't think I've ever seen up close and in person from a prospect. Like, he really, really glides in this effortless way. And there's just something about the kinesthetics of the way his body moves and the sync that it moves and, like, the speed at which it moves, where he doesn't seem like he is sped up necessarily, but he's going so fast. But it's almost like, I guess, you know, when I came to LA and hung out with you and I was in your Tesla, you know, like, you could be driving very fast in that, but it doesn't feel like it. You know what I mean? Like, you always feel like the smoothness, like you're in control. And that's kind of what it felt like to me. Like, seeing him in person. And there's something special about the way he moves on the court that, you know, I haven't seen that from a prospect up close. I just haven't.
Yeah. And Corey, I think, so for me, I've never seen him in person yet, so can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is what I've seen on film. And I think taking your eye test, in-person eye test, plus what I've seen on film, and I'm sure you've seen it as well. All that sounds really apt, right? And I think the thing that's interesting with him is that what makes the smooth gliding athleticism that he has even more impressive is that he can then combine that with the explosive stuff, the quick twitch stuff, and the fact that he can kind of lull you to sleep. Because, Corey, something that I wrote in my notes, because I had the same thing, right? I wrote that he glides, and then also connected to, like, my comp for him. But the fact that he glides, right? A lot of times, like, when we say that a player kind of glides, in people's minds, it might sound like we're saying that he floats, and then that can lead to, like, a negative connotation, right? Because we've said before that players float in a game, whatever. But with Darryn, he's so smooth and he glides. But what makes that dangerous is that he leverages that smoothness into his dynamic quick twitch stuff that really kind of sends his defenders into hell. And so that combination that he has of being smooth and being quick twitch and dynamic and really explosive is what really makes it more dangerous and more impressive to see. So yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. And like, you know, his first step is, like, outrageous. You know, I don't think he's, like, the bounciest prospect I've ever seen. Don't get me wrong, like, he is insanely vertically athletic, but a lot of times I wasn't walking away going, oh my God, you know, this is like Anthony Edwards posterization level vertical pop.
Thompson twins. Yeah.
He certainly gets up, but like, it's just the first step, and then how he can react to things that get in his way and not kind of lose that control. You know, it's like going back to like the Tesla thing and that supercomputer screen. Like it's almost like he's aware of every other angle or like any defender who's kind of like in his vicinity. He's getting those alerts, and that allows him a lot of times to have like the spatial awareness and like the reflexes to kind of stop, start, change direction, and like weave in and out. And even when he slows down and changes his pace, like there's still like a quickness to it that I think throws defenders off. And like these are high school games too, so like the spacing, even though they're very high level games and the spacing's not like atrocious, it's still not like the level of spacing he'll see ultimately when he's an NBA player. And he's still kind of just getting to spots a lot of the times. And I don't know, it's just it's really impressive. And he's like, he splits double teams that way. But yeah, that first step is like really devastating, because like he doesn't need a screen. Like he can play with ball screens for sure, but like he doesn't really need one. He can just be in a triple threat and then like kind of give you like a jab step or a shimmy, and then boom, he's gone and he's like at the rim.
Yeah, and Corey, and another aspect to just kind of piggyback off what you're saying. Another thing that impressed me with like his athleticism is his body control is phenomenal in the air. Like we mentioned, right? He's maybe not the most vertical athlete. Like you mentioned Anthony Edwards. I was thinking like the Thompson twins. I don't think he's as bouncy as they are. However, when he gets up there, his body control, his hang time, his creativity there is what's really interesting. And I think it's like there's this power to him. And I watched him in an interview with Adam Finkelstein from CBS, and they were talking, it was at some Adidas event. And he was talking about like some of the stuff that he's really been working on. He's been doing a lot of like in the pool workouts, right? Defensive slides in there and stuff like that. And then he had mentioned that like one of the biggest growth areas for him in roughly like the last year is strength. And I feel like that strength really comes into play when he's in the air. He's able to embrace contact. He's able to give contact, give power, give force when he's in the air and move guys. But then also like when he's amongst the trees, like he's able to hang there, be creative, find different angles to get the ball up on the rim or on the backboard. And I think that's another aspect where, yes, he might not be the most explosive vertical athlete, but he's still a very, very good athlete. So when he's up there, the fact that he can be creative and dynamic up there is a huge plus for him. And to your point, Corey, with more spacing, right? He won't be attacking as clogged lanes anymore. And the team, the context that he was in, where a lot of times between him and Winters Grady, it was kind of like a dueling banjos type of situation where it's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. In a different context with more talent around him, he may have clearer runways to the basket where he can show off even more of the stuff that we're talking about right now. So yeah, I'm with you. And it's just that hang time and power that he was able to show on the high school level. I can't wait to see what that looks like in Kansas with another offseason of work and development and growth.
Yeah, I think the hang time super impressive, and like you said, like there's the flexibility in the air that allows for that creativity. Really impressive. Winters Grady, I think I put this in the chat a while ago. Early summer candidate for the God, why am I forgetting the name of my own award?
Ashton Higgins. My
Ashton Higgins award. He's probably going to win the preseason Ashton Higgins award. Was not necessarily a fan of his aggressiveness at times. I'll leave it at that. I thought he was maybe a little less trigger happy at the Nike Hoop Summit with the Generals. So that'll be an interesting freshman season for him coming out. I know Metcalf just did a video breakdown of his game on the No Ceilings YouTube channel that you could check out to see if you disagree. with his nomination for the Ashton Higgins Award. So, we're talking about his movements, his creation. He is so creative with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Like, man, that handle is tight. Both hands, like left hand, right hand. He'll hit like quick little pound dribbles, like when a defender comes where he's low to the ground and he's keeping the ball tight so he can't get the ball poked away on digs. And then he's able to explode out of those. He can spin, like he'll get on the body of the defender and spin off super tight, leaving them in the dust. The start. Whoa. Like, he gets low to the ground. If you're a shin angles guy, he's got that. Like crazy creativity with that handle and tightness to it. He can be turnover prone. But I don't think it's due to the handle.
Yeah.
I think when we talk more about his passing, I think some of that, just the ball pressure that he sees, on a consistent basis, he's getting hedged a lot. And then, sometimes he tries to get a little over aggressive, like splitting double teams. So it's not to say he's not super turnover prone, but I think that his handle allows him to avoid turnover situations that a lot of other guards would be getting themselves into.
Corey, to your point, when he was playing for Prolific Prep, it was always minimum 2-3 pairs of eyes on him at all times. Like, he was the scouting report, like playing against them. It's like, hey, we're playing Peterson tonight. Everyone, eyes up, radars up. Like, we're all pinpointing on Peterson. So to that point, Corey, I 100% agree with you. And I think like the thing with him, and I feel like I haven't used this analogy in a while. Maybe we just haven't had the opportunity. Maybe we just haven't seen a prospect like this. But like, even like when we were talking about, this was like years ago, Corey, when we were talking about like a guy like Davion Mitchell or others, like the breakaway running back type of speed that Peterson has, I think is special. Like, there are a couple possessions I was watching where he turns the corner and it's that guy behind him doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell to get back, because he's not only does he do a great job of when he turns that corner of sealing his man off with his strong frame, but the speed and explosiveness that he has getting downhill, it's forget about it. Like, it's over. Like, you just have to watch and admire what he's about to do at the rim. And so to your point, Corey, like with it, whether it's the spins or him, like also like, and I wanted to wait till later to say this, but like it just came to my mind as we were talking about this. Like, he's also, when he's willing and when he does it, he's a very good cutter too. Yeah. And when he cuts and they find him, like some very, very explosive plays. And so to your point, Corey, with his handle, how low he is to the ground, and then the hesitation stuff you mentioned, his in and out dribble can be absolute murder on guys. And then there are those where in like a semi transition type of situation where he kind of pulls up at the 3-point line and just eyes up.
The hezzy,
oh my, forget about it. Like, because guys are going to bite on it because they believe in the jumper. And then he is so fast at exploding out of that and getting downhill that he's ready to absolutely detonate on people. So the thing about Darryn that impressed me the most, Corey, is that he knows that he's really, really good, but he's also extremely intelligent about leveraging his talent and athletic advantage into some really clean looks as well. And so because when we take a player like this, Corey, we focus so much on the athleticism and the scoring prowess, but I think there really is an IQ and intellect that comes with that as well. And from what I saw from his high school tape, I'm really excited to see how that continues to develop. Like, what that looks like 5 years from now is terrifying to me.
It's a really good point. Like, he's so damn polished that it's almost hard to like project what he's going to look like in the future, because this is like the finished version of all-star level guys. Like, he's so skilled and so polished. And again, it's not to say that he doesn't have areas of improvement, and that's why his potential is so scary, because he's already so good. And then it's like, what is he going to work on in year 6 or 7 in the off season where he just gets better at this one thing? Like, it's going to be scary. And, going, now back to your in and out, because you made a lot of good points. Yeah, there's this one possession where he grabs the board and he goes coast to coast. I forgot what game it was in. I think it might have been against Lehigh.
Yeah.
And he grabs the ball, goes up and gets it, and he's a really good rebounder, right? Like he goes and gets rebounds on both sides of the ball. And he beats everybody down mostly beats everybody down the floor because, people are kind of backpedaling too. But he's not like in full on 100 miles an hour mode. He's probably going like 80, and he hits somebody with a left hand in and out. That was so tight and so fluid.
Yeah.
That I was like, wow, like that's a special move. Like we saw Dylan Harper really execute last year those in and outs, right? Like he famously hit that big shot off the in and out. I think that was the game in Vegas, and like it's just like he does that on a consistent basis with the in and out, especially like you said in semi-transition or in transition where he can hit those and not lose any speed or lose control of the ball at all and still like get to where he wants to go, and just like unbelievably impressive and like bendy. He's high to low, like it's really, really special stuff. Like it's
Corey, Corey, I feel like I haven't seen you this flustered about a prospect in a while because it's everything that you're saying.
I just don't know if it's like, am I overreact? Like, I don't want to be like, just like hot take overreacting, and be like, he's so great. Like, I really want to get into some of the things I think he needs to improve on.
Yeah.
But the good stuff is great. Like
special,
excellent. Like, look, man, like everybody knew about Cooper and like, he's great and he's been this guy and he's a winner. He's on this loaded Montverde team. And then we saw him, he lives up to the hype, but it's like, I always knew Cooper was like excellent, but like Darryn is excellent. Like, and the crazy thing is there's a world where he's not even the best player in this class. Like, but like, and he doesn't, and he struggles and maybe he's inefficient because, he both in like, again, per synergy, his true shooting percentage is high because he gets to the line, but like his effective field goal has been, was pretty low, both at Prolific and in the AAU circuit. So like, and I think that goes to his shot selection because, you mentioned his shot, like his shot is really pretty, right? It's fluid. He gets into it really easily. It's concise. It's smooth. He's got follow through, but like he's never really been a good shooter. He's like more a shot maker than shooter. Yeah. Like he's a good free throw shooter. 9 attempts per game, 82% from the line. That's really good. But like the 3-point shooting, 36.2 on 7 attempts, Prolific was good, but he was 26.2% on 61 attempts at 3SSB the last summer. So like, like good trajectory, right? Like 36% is still like, after shooting 26, it's like, well, you make a couple, you miss a couple more, maybe you're back at 32, 33. Like there's some variance there with his shooting that I think, you could look at that and be like, all right, people might question him as a shooter because he's certainly more shot maker. But I think all of it looks good. I think he takes a lot of really, really tough shots, which is great because he's taking star shots from every spot on the floor, but he's definitely forcing some of them. Yeah. Now, to be fair, if the alternative is Winters Grady forcing them, I'm okay with Darryn forcing the shots because he thinks he's going to make every shot that he takes. Yeah. But there are definitely shots against where he's getting like doubled, maybe 2.5, 3 guys at him, and he's still letting it fly. And the thing that I noticed about him a lot, and it's not even just on tightly contested shots, but mostly usually on tightly contested shots, but sometimes even on open shots, is he snake bites all the time, all the time.
Yeah, Corey, I think to your point about the snake biting, looking at his stats on Synergy, on guarded catch and shoot jumpers, he was in the 21st percentile. So that really speaks to your exact point, where I feel like that snake biting, definitely is something that he's got to work out. And to your earlier point too, the shot selection stuff, I feel like we really struggle with this sometimes, Corey, because there's this like very thin line that you need to walk when it comes to like shot selection, just shooting volume. If you remember a couple years back when the Thompson twins were in the draft, we were talking, I think we did an Amen pod.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that we talked about was we didn't like the fact that he wasn't putting them up at all.
Right.
And that really scared us in terms of his trajectory as a shooter. Darren might be the opposite, right? Where he took a lot of them, right? And then the counter argument to that is like, oh, is this guy going to be selfish? Is he kind of playing with blinders on, blah, blah, blah. But for me, the way that I'm choosing, this is like a personal thing for me, the way that I'm choosing to walk away from this data point that I'm seeing is that I like that he has that alpha scoring beast inside of him, where if we look at him as like a Kobe type or whoever, right? Like he's a guy that you can hand the keys to, and he's going to take responsibility and ownership for scoring the ball and leading the team as an offensive initiator. And for me, that's what's exciting. And also something that's going to be really interesting to watch, Corey, he's going to play in Kansas. I saw an interview with Coach Self, and he straight up said with his own words that Darren is going to have to be the guy for us next season. So before the season had already started, Coach Self is making it clear to everyone who's watching that Darren's going to be their guy, and he's going to entrust the offense into his hands, right? Which, of course, can come with its good and bad, and we shall see what that net outcome looks like. But I do believe that him being in that system with Coach Self, I think he's going to get good coaching, and I think there will be a refinement of some of that shot selection that we're talking about. And also, like, I think he's just going to build more trust with the roster that he has there, and hopefully that improves. But if we're kind of looking at that scale, right? Like, do we want him to take more or do we want to take less? I feel better about the fact that he was unafraid, that he was an absolute beast alpha, offensive initiator guy that took a lot of tough shots, rather than the opposite where he was like tepid or, afraid and kind of reserved. So if we're thinking about like him as a future NBA prospect being like a lead guard type of guy, I'm okay with him with that type of heavy volume in high school. And like you, Corey, like I like the trajectory of his shooting, and we always love the free throw shooting connection to outside shooting, and him being an 82% free throw shooter on that type of volume has to have us feeling excited about him being at least a good to very good shooter one day.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because like I'm super happy that he is as aggressive as he is. I think he's one of the best. I think he's probably the best shooting guard prospect of the last 30 years, at least. I will say I did watch a Kobe Bryant high school game today because those are the names that we're, I think, going to invoke. And like, I only watched one because it's really tough. It's a tough watch. It's 1996. There's a shaky camera with like not the most high quality footage. There's, it's bleachers. So there's like people's heads in the way, it's like, but it's like, that's the name you're going to invoke. So like, there's an aggressiveness that he plays with that, like I was watching a Kobe high school playoff game against Norristown. And like Kobe was like playing like a point guard, like in this really natural way. Like Darren brings the ball up the floor and initiates the offense. But like, he's not a point guard. And somebody had even like, I posted, my scouting notes on Twitter. And somebody was like, you don't think you can play point guard? And I was like, well, not in the way that like we think about a point guard, right? Like he's very clearly, his aggressiveness leans scorer, and then his playmaking is more in the SGA vein, where like he is gonna make the play after, like when he doesn't think he has a shot. It's a reactionary playmaking instead of like manipulating it, right? Like, and when I say like shooting guard prospect, obviously Luka is in this conversation. I kind of mean American born, and Luka, I looked at him as like the same kind of positionally as LeBron, where he's like, he was more of like a point wing rather than like a shooting guard. And I think like, as we talk about the playmaking, I think like that's where like Luka was so special. It's that like he had all of these scoring chops, but he was like thinking the game at such a high level that like he knew that he was going to be able to manipulate how the defense is guarding him just by getting the spots on the floor. And he was going to like whip passes based off of just like him dribbling to a spot, where I don't think Darren is there yet. But like, as far as just like his aggressiveness, like you said, and like, it's going to be interesting when we talk about AJ DeBonsa, cause like AJ is also a very, very aggressive scorer, but there's just something that when I watch Darren, it feels a lot more like he's not just like doing him. Like there are definitely times where guys are kind of like standing around watching him. And like the offense stalls a little bit, but like it feels much more in rhythm than I think sometimes it does with AJ. And there's a lot more intentionality there than sometimes with AJ, and like force. And like, I think those are the intangible stuff that D Steven, I believe, mentioned earlier in the chat, that, or a Dirty Dancer mentioned in the chat. But yeah, like his aggressiveness rocks, and I think he's going to shoot it because it looks really good. He's just got to kind of figure out the shot selection stuff, and then clean some other stuff up. Sometimes, his footwork could be a little inconsistent or not in rhythm off the catch and shoot. Again, he's shooting a lot of contested shots, as he should be, because if I was coaching against him, I'd be like, look, man, if Winters Grady is going to beat us, God bless him. Like, load up on Darren, like stop this kid. But he, as a shooter, good free throw shooter, not scared to take threes, take some deep threes too. He's got range. Like, I always think he's going to be more shot maker than shooter, but like, I think if you look at SGA, who, in college was like a very low volume 3-point shooter. And now like he's a good 3-point shooter, but you don't look at him like, oh, he's a 3-point shooter. Like, he's trying to get to the elbow. He's trying to get to his spots in the mid range. Like Darren's got all that stuff too, but I think he's more willing to let it fly, as evidenced by, he shot 7.2 threes at Prolific, which these are high school games. Like, these are much, much shorter games than college and then the NBA. So I think that's really good. And ultimately, like, these reps are going to be important for his development.
Yeah. Absolutely, Corey. And like, I know we're about to wrap on the offense side of the ball, but there are just two things that came to mind for me that I think I would like to see. I want to see him continue to grow in, right? And I want to see that in Kansas. The first thing for me was definitely like, I felt like there were times when he would drive that there, to your point that you just made, a little bit of forcing things, right? And like, I think part of that is context, obviously, very limited space, so it's always going to look worse than it actually might be in a different context. But like, I did feel like there were times, because he's such a good athlete and because he's bigger and more athletic than a lot of the guys that he was playing in high school, where he kind of relied on that while attacking the rim. And so a little bit of tighten that up, I think I'd be happy with. And then the second thing is like, some of his off the dribble jumpers, as fluid and kinetically beautiful as his jumper can be at times, I did feel like, to your point, sometimes the footwork stuff was a little bit off, because the thing about Darren that I really like is that when his feet are set, the connection from lower half to upper half is so beautiful. As you know, Corey, I play a lot of tennis now, and I play like in a men's slow pitch softball league. So I watch all those videos come up on my TikTok now. And so I'm like learning how to connect and produce power out of my lower half. But it's the same thing in basketball, right? Like, these great shooters, there's so much power and energy that's coming from their lower half. And I think with Darren, when his feet are set, it's incredible. It looks really beautiful and connected and fluid. But there are times when off the dribble where I feel like he might get forced a little bit, or maybe it's like late in the shot clock, whatever, where it's not as smooth. And I feel like a lot of that comes from his base being a little bit shakier in those situations. So fine tuning that, I think, would definitely help a lot, is kind of my last 2 points for his offense.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about his playmaking, and then also mentioned he's an incredible finisher. He was 69.9% at the rim per synergy, in overall, 70.6% in the half court. He had 18 dunks, 9 in the half court at Prolific in those 13 games that Synergy has. In 15 3SSB games, 16 dunks, 3 in the half court, 70% at the rim overall, 52.9% in the half court. So, that half court number, obviously you'd have wanted to see improvement, which you did. He was 70.6% in the half court at Prolific Prep. So that he attacks the offensive glass. He's got an insane second jump and even third jump off the offensive glass. And then his in-between game, I really like. He likes like kind of those push shots, the floaters off 2 feet. So he scores at all 3 levels. He could shoot from deep. He can shoot in the mid-range. He's got step backs. His creativity, insane. Playmaking. Now we kind of mentioned not a natural playmaker, but average 5 assists per game. Had a good, almost 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. He's capable of making a lot of tough passes. He's got skip passes. He sees the corners. He's got drive and kick. He can hit the roller. But often, again, it's not like he's manipulating to have the tag guy, rotate into the paint too much as the low man, and then he's whipping a pass to the weak side, kind of in rhythm coming off the screen. It's kind of like he gets stopped, defenders come at him, he has to pick his dribble up, and then he kind of hits that pass because he's looking to score first. So like he's capable of it, and obviously, like as we're projecting him forward, I think we're going to see more of that. But I'm interested to see how that playmaking develops. His rim pressure, incredible. Walking paint touch, right? He drops off to the big man. He sees kind of like when the big man in drop or the low guy rotates over to kind of stop him, he'll hit like little lobs. So like there's a lot of really fun playmaking stuff. Sometimes he gets a little sloppy. He brings the ball up the court and like he's trying to like get them into their set, and he'll pick his dribble up as like maybe the guy pops on the wing. And like, if anybody who's seen a high school basketball game, sometimes guys don't walk their men down too well and they're attached and then there's no passing lane, but he already kind of picked his dribble up and now he's kind of in no man's land with it. That happens to him sometimes. And then I think sometimes, he's still learning to read that second level, and he's trying to make some passes that, go a little haywire. But I like what I see from that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add, Corey. Yeah, the only thing I'll add is that I felt like the manipulating the second side stuff was a bit of a mixed bag. Where, to your point, sometimes just beautiful stuff, right? Like he sees a low man, sees him reacting, see him kind of rotating over, and then makes a good clear pass. But then also, to my point earlier about him kind of forcing things in the paint, sometimes there were times where I was like, oh, I wish like you made a different choice here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I understand you feel like you have a lot of momentum going down towards the rim, but like when they really kind of overreact to you, maybe a dump off to the corner or to the dunker spot, I thought there are occasionally times where he would miss that. But to your point, I think it's more of a mixed bag rather than it like being a weakness. I think it's just we have to see more of it.
Yeah, I would say his playmaking from his position is a strength, like from a shooting guard. Man, he's a primary initiator, shooting guard.
Yes.
Like, if you want to get hung up on the language that we use, but like to me, like if he played in the 90s, he's a pure shooting guard.
Yeah.
If he played in the 2000s, he's a pure shooting guard. The game has changed, positions are blended, but like he was built in a lab to kind of be like a shooting guard.
Yes.
It's just now the game is played where oftentimes like your best scorer also tends to do a lot of the playmaking. And I think he's going to get there. We've seen a lot of guys. Jason Tatum is a guy who's really improved his playmaking and understanding how to leverage his scoring in a way that has helped him, be one of the best, if not the best player on a championship team. Right. All right. Let's switch it over to the defensive side of the ball. Talk to me about his defense.
Absolutely. I think defensively, as always, Corey, because whenever we do these preseason pods, we try not to do too much. I feel like we generally are more reserved when it comes to defensive stuff because of a million different reasons. But the main reasons we usually talk about is context and level and all these things, right? So I want to kind of avoid all that and just kind of give the main takeaways that I had from him defensively. I think number one, the tools are incredible. I've seen people say like, oh, he's 6'5", whatever. I'm not worried about the 6'5" because he has a 6'10" wingspan. And so like that, I think helps him so much. He's got a really solid frame. And then all the athleticism pluses we talked about on offense, those actually also transfer over defensively, where he moves so well laterally, does a really good job of flipping his hips and, you know, really just like moving so great. Like it's beautiful the way that he moves, even on the defense side of the ball. Corey, I saw the tweet that you put out there about his rim protection stuff. Really, really, really fun and incredible stuff. And it for me, it kind of invoked and had in my brain. And I've gotten in trouble for doing this before in a preseason pod, like comparing guys to different people. But I was like, man, some little sniff of a little hint of Dwayne Wade there
Dwayne Wade,
with some of the shot block and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you know, like if we
the way that he comes over and like not when he's jumping high to pin the ball, but he's almost like engulfing it with like his entire arm, like from behind and just like cradling it. That's where like some of it looked like Wade.
Some Dwayne Wade, Kenyon Martin stuff, you know, for our older heads who remember, Kenyon Martin used to just absolutely just two-hand grab balls out of the air at times. So yeah, some of that. But just overall, Corey, like I kind of want to just focus on the positives for now, just because like I'm defensively, I'm always kind of in like a wait and see type of thing until we see them in college and then obviously in the NBA. But for me, I love the foundation. Like the skill set is good. I think mentality is good. Instincts are good. This man, like he could actually be a really tantalizing, scary two-way player for the future. And I think the defensive side, of course, will always be the secondary lead when we talk about a guy like this. Like the marquee skill will be offense, but depending on how high the defensive stuff gets with him, I mean, then it changes the conversation. Oh, well, not even changes. Like it will truly like justify and verify the praise that we have for him in terms of his potential is what I think.
Yeah. And like, I think a lot of times it's hard to gauge how a player is going to translate defensively just from like an effort perspective. Like high school, the games are much shorter. College, the games are a little longer. The NBA, the games are even longer. And like when you're carrying such a heavy load, which he will offensively, you start going like, all right, is he going to put the defensive effort necessary to, you know, truly be like a true absolute superstar? You know, Kobe famously has made all these NBA teams, and a lot of it, I think, by the end, maybe was a little bit all defensive NBA teams was more about kind of reputation. Not to say he was a bad defender, right? Agreed. Not to say he was a bad defender, but a lot of it was just had to do with his reputation. And like obviously, when he turned it on, and he was, you know, one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. But he wasn't doing that all the time, and I feel like that's kind of how Darryn approaches the game. Not so much when he's on the ball, he's locked in, like straight up, like, and he slides. There were a couple of possessions against the Compton Magic in the 3SSB where he was playing with Phenom against Elijah Arenas, who, you know, again, not my favorite kind of player. What he did at the McDonald's All-American game was truly one of the most egregious displays I've ever seen on a basketball court. I think he maybe made one pass. I've never been more disappointed to be watching anybody play basketball in my entire life than I was watching him do that. But he's shifty, he's creative, and he can get buckets. And there are a few possessions where Darryn just like got in him, would not let him get to his spots, beat him to the spot, picked his pocket, like force him some really tough stuff. Like he can just read you. He's like locked in on like your gut. So like he's not looking at your eyes. He's not going to you're not going to fool him with your movements. Really great mover, like you said. But sometimes off the ball, like, because he does have such good instincts off the ball too. And that goes into like the rim protection where he is in position as the low man, or he's coming over and he's making those effort plays. And then I think on the weak side, he splits the difference. He's really good at anticipating the passing lanes without really gambling too much. But there are sometimes where he just like needs a rest and he's not like super engaged when he's like maybe the guy who's supposed to dig, you know, on the weak side elbow or something. Like there are just times where sometimes it's like, all right, he's not going 100% both ways, but it's not like, oh, I should be concerned because I don't think he's going to put effort defensively. I think he's just like kind of resting a little bit. And I think he has the opportunity to be a two-way star. And like, I think he could be like one of these, like, he could be an all defensive player if he wants. I don't know if that's how he's going to approach it at the NBA level. But like, he could be one of those kind of two-way stars. And I think that's what separates him potentially too, like outside of the fact he's so developed in comparison to guys like, I don't know, like Jalen Green or Bradley Beal or something like that. Like, he's already, I think, so far ahead
At the
of
same
those guys
level.
at the same age.
Yeah.
But like Bradley Beal just doesn't have, like, I think the same tools, you know, like
Right.
Jalen Green, I think athletically might, but like doesn't necessarily have, I think, the strength to like, and Darren's got to get stronger too,
Yes.
for sure. But I think his frame is probably going to hold up a little better. But yeah, he's a great tool. He's a great defender. He's a great defender, and you know, but he's and he's a guard. So like, you know, I think that he's not gonna have the same impact as a Wembanyama, Chet type of guy. But like, point of attack defense is really, really important. The Thunder have 1,000 point of attack defenders to make your life hell, to put pressure on you until you get up the court and then have to deal with their rim protection and guys inside. So like, he's, I think, gonna have that to his game, and it might rear its head in big moments, or like when he's got a matchup. But all the tools are there for him.
Yeah. No, I agree, Corey. Last point for me. I like the point that you made that like at times you see him kind of resting, and like we're in a day and age now where LeBron's kind of normalized that for us, right? Like in the last 10 years, I would say maybe even 5 years. Okay, 5 to 10 years, LeBron's kind of very egregiously showed the rest of the league like, hey, I've been a great defender in my career, but there are possessions where, because I'm carrying such a heavy load on offense, I'm going to just take a break on defense for maybe 2 possessions. And that's going to be okay, because my net kind of takeaway is still going to be positive. Like, yeah, maybe you highlight a couple possessions where I just kind of chilled in the corner right here. But overall, if you look at the whole grand scheme of the game, I'm going to give you good defense. So maybe Darren is just, another student of that school. And he's just like, right now I'm pretty much carrying this team offensively, and there are going to be times where I need to recharge a little bit. And I think we are, of the day and age where we can accept that and we can understand that a little bit,
For sure. For sure. All right. So, I mean, we've mentioned some names.
Yes.
Here. If you're buying stock in Darryn Peterson, who are the names that come to mind for you?
So I didn't go with, Mr. Italy, Lower Merion High School. I didn't go with him because I figured I knew he was a name that you're going to bring up. So I went a different route. I actually watched like a highlight tape of this guy. I tried to watch a little bit of grainy film on him on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. He's still going to be my choice just because I want to put a high ceiling on him, but not like the highest ceiling on him. So here's my point, Corey. This very early in the season, maybe this gets a soundbite one day or whatever. I think Darryn Peterson might be a Hall of Fame NBA player. Like 8 to 10 time All-Star, maybe more, all NBA teams, the whole gamut of things is kind of where my brain is at right now. The guy that came to my mind for me that I want to kind of put as almost as a low end comp, almost, Clyde Drexler. Was a guy that came to my mind just because if you go back and watch young Clyde Drexler, of course, like after he was eviscerated by Michael Jordan, his career was not exactly the same. But if you take like his Portland years before that happened and all that stuff, just an absolutely dynamic offensive shooting guard who was so graceful of an athlete, was so good for his that time period where they had such a lot of other good shooting guards as well. Who
Clyde the Glide.
So he's my choice, Corey. I almost look at him as a low end comp for Darryn Peterson right now.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever evoked the name Kobe Bryant before. Like,
okay, I thought you did.
As I'm saying, as like on as long as we've been potting, like comparing.
True. Yes.
A player. There were Kobe comps flying around for Jalen Green, and who knows? Maybe I said that on his podcast when we did this at the beginning. I don't think I did. But this is the first guy that I was like, yeah, this is the best shooting guard prospect in like 30 years. And it's not to say he's going to be the best player. Like he could definitely not live up to that. Like for sure. But like, you look at the best shooting guards in the league, Devin Booker was not this level of prospect, right? He's turned into a special player, but he was an off-ball shooter.
Right.
Like he barely got to the rim in college. Like, he didn't get to show the full gamut, right? So like, just as OJ Mayo had a lot of hype, right? He was on magazine covers and that whole thing during that era, which was a lot different, where if we knew OJ Mayo's name in high school, and that was not a thing that was like always normal. Right. At that time coming up. But like, I think OJ was a little older. I think maybe he was a little shorter.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned Dwayne Wade. I think like Dwayne Wade was a junior. Yeah. So at this age, like I've seen a lot of really good players. Even growing up, as a kid, like I got a chance to see up close AJ Price, and Jason Frazier was in that Carmelo class. He was one of four on one of four teams that beat LeBron. He was a guy that like I saw multiple times growing up because one of my youth coaches was his high school coach in Amityville as he was winning state championships, and like he was in McDonald's All-American. Like I've gotten up close to see for like my whole life, like really good players. Darren is different. And, there's one other guy in this class that I can also say, like, I was wowed by in a really unique way in Cam Boozer when I saw him for the first time live. But there is something that it's like, man, Darren's a special player. So like, I don't even think it's out of pocket to, again, I went and I watched Kobe in high school, and like you watch him and like Kobe had a lot of shortcomings, man. Like you see all of the Kobe stuff, but like it wasn't as polished, and he was playing like with not high level guys, even against high level guys. The spacing was different because it's the 90s, like the game was just completely and totally different. And if Kobe was in the situation that like he would be Kobe, like, but a much more like polished, even like higher level, I think, at his age. But yeah, Darren is legit, man. I enjoy watching him play basketball.
I think we went pretty conservative here for a preseason pod. I called him a perennial Hall of Famer, or a perennial All NBA guy, future Hall of Famer. You and Kobe Bryant. So I think we did a good job. But Corey, like, I think all this to say, and I know, and we're like being dead serious, guys. I hope you know that. And Corey and I, we did not talk about this at all before we started potting today. But a really special prospect, and like he will be one like the biggest reason why I'm excited for college basketball this season. And I cannot wait to see what it looks like. He's going to be awesome. I'm like so sure of it. What I said before, like I really think he's a bulletproof prospect.
This is a perfect time to give a nice little 30-second elevator pitch on something we like to call "Sell Me This Pen." And you know what? I've been noticing on the internet a little "Sell Me This Pen" really making its way into the scouting ether. So that excites me when I see other people use the "Sell Me This Pen" thing around the internet. Obviously, we didn't invent that phrase; we stole it from The Wolf of Wall Street. But we brought into the scouting community. I like when people use it. I think it's cool. So, Albert, sell me this pen on Darryn Peterson.
Okay, when it comes to Darryn Peterson, it's as simple as we believe, both of us, whatever. We believe that he has the foundation, the talent, the measurables, almost just the full gamut of basketball skills and intangibles and athleticism that you need for a prospect to become a future Hall of Fame player. We really believe that he can be that level of a player. Now, we are not fortune tellers, and we do not know what the future looks like, right? There are other outcomes, whether it's because of injury or context or whatever off the course. You never know. There are a million different things that can happen. But when we look at just from what we've seen of Darryn Peterson as a player, with his skill set, with his intellect, with his instincts on the court. When you kind of put all that together, the amalgamation of all of that is we are extremely excited about the type of player that he can be, and where he's at currently at his level as a prospect. He is maybe the best player we've ever scouted in our history of working together as a duo, doing this podcast together. He might be the best prospect we've ever seen. And that gets us really excited about him. And that's why you should be really excited to see Darryn Peterson play basketball for Kansas this season.
And I am so excited to watch him. College basketball, creeping up on us. We'll get there soon. So guys, we're back. Thank you for rocking with us. We have some really special announcements soon. We've dotted some I's and crossed some T's, and you're going to be seeing a lot of our faces on a lot of different places this year that we're excited about. And whenever we can, we're going to let you guys know. But you can find us right here on the No Ceilings NBA YouTube. Follow us at No Ceilings NBA. I'm Corey Tulaba. He's Albert Gim. Until next time, we are out. Thanks for rocking with us.